Hello, this is Monday, the 22nd day of June in the year 2015. Welcome to episode number 53 of the Vanguard Report. This is where we make the artificial separation of helping men from damaging feminism. After all, feminism is damaging us. And turnabout is fair play, is it not? We, the non-feminist men and women of the world, are quite entitled to damage what is damaging us. I think it's always a nice gesture to return a compliment, don't you? Yes, as I said above, the distinction between helping men and damaging feminism is artificial. It is the artifice of a defective understanding. In reality, helping men and damaging feminism are part and parcel. There is no way to damage feminism without helping men. That's right. And there's no way you can help men without damaging feminism. These things are linked, and they cannot be unlinked. And yet, around here, we don't talk about helping men. I am personally not a men's rights advocate. I'm just a fellow who wants to get the job done. The job being defined as bringing about the social death of feminism by undermining the feminist construct, the whole feminist narrative, to the point of collapse, and by instigating the culture of critique, which is a social brushfire of criticism and all-around cheekiness toward feminism itself. Yes, anti-feminism is for everybody, even your Aunt Mildred. Anti-feminism is as American as apple pie, or as English as Yorkshire pudding, or as Canadian as Tim Hortons coffee. Feminism is bad for everybody. Therefore, anti-feminism is good for everybody. Well, other than feminists, needless to say. So, I am Neil Hogan, your host for episode number 53 of the Vanguard Report. Today we have a guest. But wait, before I introduce our guest, here is my co-host, a man of Canada and a true son of the wide Alberta prairie, Nick Redding. Nick, say hello to the people.
Hey everybody, I'm Nick Redding with Men's Rights Edmonton. Men's Rights Edmonton is an entity that exists to to coordinate men's rights activists on a geographic level in Edmonton, Alberta, and surrounding areas. So as I always begin and end every program with, if you're in Edmonton or around Edmonton, or you know somebody in Edmonton who's, a men's rights activist or a MGTOW or just an anti-feminist or whatever you want to call it, however they identify, if they like what Men's Rights Edmonton is about, then they should come and hang out with us, and they can do that by going to www.mensrightsedmonton.com and dropping us a line through the Contact Us section on that website, or just sending us an email at mensrightsedmonton@gmail.com. And this week we do have a very special guest. He's a young man named Spinosaurus Ken. He has a great YouTube channel. He really takes the piss out of people, and I think that more people should definitely watch this guy.
Okay. And yes, he is from England. Spinosaurus Ken is, and of course, if you get around YouTube very much, you might have made his acquaintance already. And Spinosaurus Ken is one of these recently arrived people, part of that mainstream anti-feminist influx that is presently occurring. Spinosaurus-skins,
Hello.
welcome to the Vanguard report. I believe you are a non-feminist. Can you tell me, are you a feminist or are you a non-feminist?
I am a non-feminist.
You're a non-feminist? Well, sir, I congratulate you on your alacrity answering that question. And just for a moment here, we're getting a lot of background noise from somewhere. I don't know where.
Oh shit! Sorry, guys.
That's coming from Nick.
Spinosaurus-skin. Okay. You're a non-feminist. I am a non-feminist. Nick, I believe, is a non-feminist. So you're in good company here. This is a non-feminist, if you'll pardon the expression, safe space. Well, if they're going to talk about safe spaces, I mean, we can throw their jargon right back at them. Turn about it's fair play. Anyway, it's good that you answered the question within a second. Everybody on Earth should be able to answer the question, are you a feminist or are you a non-feminist? They should be snappy and just come back inside of 1 second, and there should be no problem. If they hesitate over that, then I begin to wonder about the person. Anybody ask me, are you a feminist or a non-feminist? I'll say non-feminist in considerably less than 1 second. So, I think we're all on the same page about our non-feminism.
Well,
So,
you just
Spinosaurus-skin, why don't you tell us a bit? Well, Nick, you're going to say something.
yeah, just if anybody still has any hesitation about that feminist, are you a feminist or are you not a feminist question, just to think, are you a Catholic or are you not a Catholic? It's a pretty simple question to answer, and not that there's anything wrong with being Catholic, but if you are, you don't have much of a problem saying so, and if you're not, then you don't have much of a problem saying that either. It's just that simple.
Yeah, well, if they waffle around about around the question, it's a sign that you want to be on your guard around that person. A lot of people are sitting on the fence. Of course, they don't know, of course, what feminism is really. They don't know who they are. Actually, is what it comes down to. But over the course of time, these people sitting on the fence will learn to get off the fence. And I don't care so much what side of the fence they finally come down on, so much as I want to see them off that fence and know clearly what side they're on. If they want to be a feminist and say I'm a feminist, fine, they should say that. If they want to say they're not a feminist, they should say that, because the basic battle, the basic plot of the whole narrative here is the conflict, the showdown, the confrontation between feminist and non-feminist here on planet Earth. Anyway, getting back to our program and our guest, Spinosaurus-skin. Look at Q number 6 on your Q list. Finally got that Q in. This is a link to Spinosaurus-skin's YouTube channel. You go there and you can enjoy his YouTube channel at your leisure whenever you have time. It's right there, Q number 6. That will take you to his channel, and he's putting up new stuff constantly. So, Spinosaurus-skin, why don't you tell us a bit about how you got into all of this opposed to feminism stuff, and where you hope to see it going in the future, and where you see your own role in all of this in the future.
Okay, so I kind of got into this through the atheist community. So I was watching a lot of the Amazing Atheist videos and Thunderfoot's videos back in the day, and after a while I started noticing that a lot of the atheist community was split on feminism, and this seemed to be quite a polarizing issue within the community. I joined a site called the Thinking Atheist, and at the same time I discovered Sargon of Akkad's channel. So I was listening to a lot of Sargon's arguments, and they kind of made a lot of sense to me. So I ended up, although I went to the atheist site to discuss about atheism and philosophy, I ended up just arguing about feminism and found that most of the feminists there were extremely toxic. So later on, I found Dr. Amanda McCann's channel, discovered the men's rights movement, then Bane666, then Karen Strawn's channel, and a slew of other YouTubers, and I eventually got motivated to make videos.
That's very good. And you're going to keep on making videos then, I take it?
Oh, definitely.
And just out of curiosity, do you have any, you see yourself expanding beyond just making videos somewhere in the future?
What was that again?
Do you see your range of activity possibly expanding to include things other than just making videos? I mean, you plan to
Hopefully, yes.
to blog or even do boots on the ground style activism or anything like that?
Boots on the ground sounds fun to me.
Well, I guess it's just a matter of you keep rolling, doing what you're doing, and then you get some kind of an inspiration, and then one day you branch off in a direction that you never anticipated. Things just seem to roll that way. It's very
Yeah, in a boots on the ground perspective really changes things. I mean, I used to walk down Jasper Ave with another guy. Jasper Ave is a main avenue of traffic in Edmonton, made a lot of foot traffic. I walked around there in a sandwich board that said mensrightsedmonton.com, and we went around putting up AVFM posters all down the street. And I mean, some of the reactions that we got from people were amazing. Like it's like Tumblr in real life. Like and these are like business women, and like they're not like teenagers. Like they're grown women who come up and
they talk like Tumblrites, do they?
Well, they lose their minds. Like there was one woman who said, "Men think with the wrong penis."
Pardon me, somebody literally said that.
Yeah. He said, "Well, which penis should they think with?" She said, "Well, men think with the wrong head." Right, that's what she meant. Right, but she was just so charged up that it just, like.
She was talking faster than she was thinking, basically.
Yeah, and so. It was just, seeing the word men's rights, like just average, like middle-aged people or 30-year-old or 40 whatever, who have never even heard of the men's rights movement. They look at it and like they're aghast.
They're aghast at the idea that half of the human race deserves some kind of rights.
Yeah.
What a radical extremist idea.
Yeah, and I gotta say, doing boots on the ground stuff, it really it's a charge to it. It is almost like a high when you see how stupid these people are and you're not. But it's something you can get into.
Their stupidity is blazingly on display on the internet all the time, and it must give you further confirmation and validation when you see the identical thing displayed in the world of meat space right in front of your face.
Interesting. Well, yeah, hopefully I'll be able to do that one day then.
I did not come prepared with a long list of questions for our guests here. I was hoping to wing it.
Well, that's fine.
Anything you'd like to bring up with Spinosaurus?
Yeah, no, I do like you and everything, Spinosaurus. So don't take this as a slight. I just think it'd be funny to put you on the spot here. You and I came in contact with each other back when I was back when I made my video. I am anti-feminist. That's it. And that's the one where I said that I don't care about men, and that I was just doing this for revenge. And I got a comment here.
Oh God!
I got a comment here from Spinosaurus Ken. I'm gonna read it right now. It says, "Stop calling yourself men's rights. Then you ruin it for the actual MRAs who give a fuck about rights and equality rather than your nerds' revenge fantasy. Just fuck off."
Okay, I was biased by Razorblade Candy. I was biased by Razorblade.
and then as you watched the resulting videos, and your position changed.
Yes, you were able to convince me. It was the false piety argument that really swung me, though.
Thank you.
Spino, can you explain to us what is this false piety argument?
It was the fact that I thought yeah, okay, people who don't actually care is probably not good. But then when I heard that, yeah, but then people can lie about how much they care and it just becomes a pissing contest about who cares the most, I started to realize, no, that's not going to be a good message. That's not going to be a good way to run the movement. We need to work on results.
You know, as I recall on the video in question, the Men's Rights Edmonton video in question, I took up about half the same video myself, and I very plainly stated I don't care about men's rights. And the reason I said that was I just wanted to get a rise out of people. I wanted to provoke people, and I wanted to make my point by exaggeration. And it looks like it worked. And, you know, a lot of people with zero sense of irony or zero sense of humor really blew up over that. You know, to think that you know, I literally don't care about men. Well, I mean, I care about everybody to a certain extent, but I mean, for reasons I won't go into now, it's just I felt it was time to separate the function of attacking feminism from the function of quote unquote promoting men's rights. And Spinosaurus can, if you had to put a label on yourself in terms of the non-feminist, the whole non-feminist political field, how would you situate yourself, if you don't mind me asking?
I'd consider myself an MRA, a men's rights activist. I guess I'd also consider myself MGTOW, and yeah, and anti-feminist.
Well, anti-feminist is a good thing, and needless to say, you're non-feminist. No, we've covered that one already. We're all non-feminists. If you're not a feminist, if you're anti-feminist. By the way, this might be a good place to insert a little bit of wisdom here. There's a difference between anti-feminist and non-feminist. A non-feminist is pretty much an embryonic anti-feminist. So once you take the position of I am not a feminist, you are already, the little seed or the little grain of anti-feminism is implied in the statement I am not a feminist. You have
All you need to do is sort of say it on social media, and then feminists will convince you to become an anti-feminist.
They will. There's all kinds of things that will happen.
Just by their responses to you.
Well, what I like about saying you're not a feminist, it's almost a I'm going to say quasi-pacifistic way to operate. You know, you're not taking an aggressive stand. You're not reaching out, proactively attacking anybody, opposing anybody, and yet simply by saying you are not this, you have already demonstrated that level of opposition. And it's interesting to observe how they responded, is how they take this. And I can guarantee from my own experience that it really, really, really confuses the hell out of them. And it puts them in a really tangled sort of headspace. So it's worth looking into, worth checking out, worth experimenting. So anyway, Spinal.
Well, hold on. There's actually a couple of case studies that I would point people to in terms of the I am not a feminist thing. There's Kelly Cuoco Sweeting, the good-looking girl from the Big Bang Theory. She came out and said that she was not a feminist, and then she got mobbed, and she came out with a very conciliatory statement. She just cares about her job, and I don't blame her for that. And then there's Katy Perry, and she also said that she was not a feminist. But now, unless I'm mistaken, I think she might actually be writing a song for Hillary Clinton's candidacy. So, I mean, I don't know. And then, you know, when I've heard other celebrities who say that they are feminists, like Lady Gaga, she, you know, of course, just gave a fluffy, superficial reason. She believes women are strong.
She's not a feminist. I've heard her say that she's just fine with men. I don't know where you've heard Lady Gaga say she's a feminist.
Oh, I've seen video of her saying that she was a feminist.
And she's elsewhere said she's not a feminist. So you got to take the statements of celebrities and politicians with a grain of salt if they're to get a whole barrel.
Yeah, I agree.
But Oh,
I mean, celebrities aren't there to. They're not there to push politics.
well, normally
Sometimes they are.
Well,
Sometimes-
only when
it's
you
not
have
their function.
only when you have a political ideology like feminism that's trying to take over celebrity culture.
It's not their
There
function to
was.
push politics. It's not their function to push politics, but they can step out of that function, I suppose, on an individual level.
Yeah, like you got a lot of times, like you have Paul McCartney doing ethical animal treatment. You got you got a lot of various people like doing, some people who are pro-vax, some are anti-vax. I remember back.
Alice Walker singing the praises of Castro.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times, celebrities use. A lot of times celebrities use their influence for political purposes.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I'm not going to bore anybody with my opinion of celebrities in general, but in general, I think they're on the lower end of the evolutionary ladder of humanity. I'm going to leave it there.
Often they have to be though. They have to appear so to sort of fit the lowest common denominator, as you would say.
Yeah, well, they are appealing to they are a projection of the collective mind in some sense, and so they have to satisfy that role some way or another. Anyway, I keep losing the thread. Spino, what were we talking about before we branched off on the thread that we're talking about right now? Do you recall?
Calling yourself as not a feminist is, in a way, a pacifistic rejection and attack on feminism, almost.
It is. It is. It is by. I mean, it virtually is. I mean, it cannot be other than that. I was about to say, basically, a little nutshell of a phrase here. A non-feminist is an anti-feminist waiting to happen. An anti-feminist is a non-feminist in a hurry. It's sort of like the difference because we do socialist and communist. It's kind of along that line. And we're all non-feminists. We call ourselves different things. Some of us don't like to call ourselves anything. Some of us call ourselves MRAs. Some of us call ourselves MGTOWs. We'll get into the subject of MGTOW here in a minute. Of course, I got to tread carefully when I talk about MGTOW, but I think we can venture that a ways anyhow. But I think it's safe to say we're all non-feminists. And I think the defining battle of the age, the main plot, if you will, is precisely, as I stated earlier in the episode, the conflict between feminists and non-feminists, which side you want. I call that building the pizza from the bottom up. You start with the dough first, and then you put the toppings on top of the dough. And the dough of this particular pizza is feminism against everything else. That is the most fundamental conflict, the most radical split right down the biological middle of the human race. And anyway, Spino, getting back to review, you seem to take a little bit from column A, column B, column C, and so on. You seem to have aspect of MRA, aspect of MGTOW. Could you expand a little bit on how you fit into the MGTOW picture and how you conceive MGTOW as a phenomenon?
Okay, so I define MGTOW in kind of three categories. So you have three criteria to be a MGTOW: no kids, no marriage, and no chivalry. So no putting women on a pedestal. So that's the basic aspect of MGTOW, and then you have extraneous ideologies that can often be attached to MGTOW. So, I mean, I tend to butt heads with the so-called radical MGTOWs, like the folk from MGTOW United, very often, because I don't like their characterization of men and women as class warfare, or their ideas that women are inherently inferior. But I am definitely I'm very pro the a friendship between the men's rights movement and MGTOW, mainly due to the fact that there's a serious overlap, and it's just kind of silly to be infighting at this point. We don't need that.
So, do you? I agree. We don't need infighting, whoever we is, but do you see MGTOW as primarily as an actual, tangible group of people, a club, or a social affiliation with membership, or do you see it more as a broad, objective, phenomenological sort of trend of history, which is how I see it?
There does seem to be communities forming around MGTOW, but it does seem to be more of a just sort of a behavioral trait. So some men will be MGTOW irrelevant to the communities they're in, and some won't.
Okay, well, it certainly is a tag that people can attach to themselves. I will sort of briefly summarize my own position here. I see MGTOW primarily in terms of as a infamous article I wrote on AVFM a few months back as an impersonal force of history. It's just something that's happening. It rose out of the progress of events in history. I mean, effectively, we have men who have been disenfranchised as a political class, and they are being given the short end of the stick in a whole bunch of ways we don't have time to go into now. But the bottom line is that, in effect, there is no longer a social contract between men and civilization. Men as individuals, having been disenfranchised, or men as a class and as individuals, having been disenfranchised, are free from the burden of upholding civilization. And they're pretty much, they can go off and be governed by a moral law within themselves, which has an upside and a downside. It definitely has a potential dark side, in as much as people who are governed by a moral law within themselves can do damn near anything. So it all depends on what moral law within yourself you're governed by. So I think MGTOW is like a fire bell in the night. It's like a warning. It's like, hey, world, wake up, something is wrong here. Men are turning their back on the world, looking out for themselves. They have been badly treated, and maybe the rest of the world ought to start taking it seriously. And that, to me, that is the basic concept. And various people have tried to build upon that concept, to try to add other things. They tried to make the whole center of the plot be gravitate around the subject of women in relationships, which to me is not where it begins at all. To me, it begins in historical politics, but some people say it's all about men and women. But anyway, that's kind of my position on the whole MGTOW thing. I see MGTOW in terms of a political and historical process, and not as something of which one is a member. And I think that the term, are you a MGTOW, that grammatical construction to me just sounds silly. And anyway, anybody else want to add any thoughts on MGTOW? And I hope I haven't stepped in a minefield already with MGTOW. Maybe I have.
No, I think it is important to recognize it as phenomenological, right? Like you'll have a lot of people like me who are looking at the MGTOW thing and saying like, well, yeah, Barbarossa and those guys, they make really good points, and it is good that they expound on these things, and because it's we do want people thinking in that direction, or at least a section of people, but I didn't need them to tell me not to get fucking married. I didn't need them to tell me that.
Yeah, I came to that conclusion before I even discovered the manosphere.
Yeah, like just you look at all the divorced guys, or all the guys with a string of ex-wives who are they're still paying to finance all their fucking pet projects and stuff. I saw that when I was like 14. And I knew that it was a bum deal, and I just had no interest in marriage or family for that reason. And now there's now there's statistical data that people are complaining about men not getting married. So obviously I wasn't the only one.
They don't seem to have a clue as to what's really going on. It's a really annoying thing.
Yeah, it's like I had heard people in the men's rights movement and MGTOW talk about male disposability, and I didn't really care about it because it sounded a little bit too much like victim politics. But now, like, when I see people's reaction to men not getting married, it's like they're hitting a TV that's not working. They're going, "What's wrong? Why aren't you doing this?" Like that
It's
seems.
going to fix the TV all right. That's going to just set the TV right, and the TV will work again.
Yeah.
Kick it enough, whack it enough times.
Yeah. So yeah, it's but yeah, again, I would call it phenomenological because a lot of guys who were never formally educated in this stuff seem to figure it out just fine. So you don't need gatekeepers of MGTOW or anything like that because it just happens on its own.
It's a force of nature, as I like to say.
But it is good to have thinkers within it and people talking and discussing and sharing ideas, obviously.
And people can, of course, and will form subgroups, clubs built around the concept. And within those clubs, within those associations, they can set their rules and have membership and do all that sort of thing. But I see MGTOW as pretty much an open source idea. It's a fact of history which we can interpret and tap into on different levels. And it's kind of unfortunate that there is a group of very loud, angry, and not always very rational people that try to define MGTOW as a very narrow sort of thing, when in fact it is a huge, broad ocean.
Well, at the same time, when you've got a movement like this in its infancy, I mean that's going to happen, and it's still a necessary stage in development, I think.
Yeah. And also we got to take into account that a lot of men are disenfranchised and are being brought to MGTOW by extreme events that happen in their lives relating to specific kinds of women. And the tendency in a lot of people is to generalize. It's just a natural part of our brains, and we can't just program it out within a generation.
It's the world is complex and messy, and sometimes you've got to simplify it. It's a question of sanity and survival.
Yeah. So of course there are going to be like crazy bigots within the MGTOW community, and it's completely fair to point them out and say, "Yep, you're wrong. I disagree with you." And it's also completely fair to say that yes, that's not representative of MGTOW, and actually, unlike in other ideological groups, MGTOW isn't based upon ideas but actually just behavior. So the ideas relating to it aren't really the responsibility of MGTOW.
Well, the ideas relating to it are what people, various thinkers, have come up with after observing the objective state of the world.
Yeah, I tend to sort of I tend to call the ideology MGTOWism. So
MGTOWism?
Yeah.
I gotta remember that one, MGTOWism.
Yeah, I think it kind of makes sense.
I call it the MGTOW Club. People who think of MGTOW as a quote unquote social group rather than just an impersonal force of history.
All right,
the MGTOW Club.
You were worried about stepping on landmines, and now I share your fear there, Feedabug, and let's move on.
Did you step on a landmine?
No.
I'll jump on landmines.
Yeah, I'm just saying let's keep on moving here.
Oh, you think I'm like six inches away from stepping on?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if we're gonna wrap up this little chat about MGTOW, I'll just say that what's happening and all of these people with all of their angry talk. I mean, this is a predictable outcome of the story.
Yeah, it's completely predictable, and it's completely expected, and it's completely understandable. I understand where they're coming from.
I understand where they're coming from. I would not censor them, tell them not to speak. They can speak their minds, no matter how ugly it is. And I'll just stand back and say, hey, I am not them. I tried to warn you about them and about all the things that are happening. Now, are you going to listen or not? Or are you going to keep your head up your ass when you've had it parked all the time? Because the mainstream and the feminists and everybody, they've got their head up their ass about what's really happening.
I find it funny that I probably end up arguing with those kinds of people more often than feminists do. So actually, as a non-feminist, I argue with misogynists more than I do more than feminists do, which is quite funny.
Well, let's just inject a cautionary note here vis-a-vis the word misogyny or misogynist. That's a word you got to be careful, or otherwise about using. Otherwise, you start falling into feminist, linguistic thought patterns. But yeah, there are real misogynists in the world. There are people out there who genuinely hate women as a class, as a group, simply because they are women. They are a minority, very small minority of the population.
Oh yeah, of course they are. They're a minority of MGTOW, so they can't be that big.
Well, a lot of this misogyny, this angry talk, is of course justifiable angry. But
Yeah,
people,
of course.
people who are not who lack political awareness, meaning most of the middle mass, and of course the feminists who do have political awareness, but they're on the bad side, right? They will take anything they can and call it misogyny. You know, holding women accountable for their behavior, saying that a lot of women behave in a particular bad way, um, that is interpreted or reputed to be misogyny. And yeah.
I mean, I remember when Matt Binder brought up the quote from Stefan Molyneux at the ICMI 14 about women being held accountable, that women should be held accountable for what they do, and they like.
I've never seen the problem with that statement. They always talk about it as if it's this horrible evil thing, and I just think, okay, what in there is he actually saying that's extremely evil and stupid?
Yeah, like
yes.
when
this shows us how evil and stupid the people on the other side are.
Yeah, like when people misbehave, they should be held accountable. That's common dog fuck. Like,
I mean, I even listened to anti-feminists who thought that was a stupid thing to say, and I thought, what?
Yeah, like.
Pardon me, Spino. You saying anti-feminists said what was the stupid thing to say?
That's Stefan Molyneux quote. I can remember watching it on the Drunken Peasants podcast that the Amazing Atheist made fun of it.
Pardon me, are they saying that it's stupid to say that women should be held accountable for their behavior?
Yeah, I think they mostly took umbrage with the idea that women have sex with assholes.
Oh well, that should not be a topic.
That was there was a woman there though. There was a woman there, so maybe they might have been censoring themselves.
Bearing her feelings. That. I'm going to just inject a little bit of my own personal politics here. Personally, and I recommend this to anybody who wants to do the same, I don't even talk about relationship issues, full stop. That's not on my talk agenda.
I agree.
Pretty political. My rhetorical conversation center of gravity is just the politics of the feminist problem and what are we going to do about it.
Yeah, I would say complaining that women sleep with jerks is a really I also disagree with that.
Won't give you any
it's a very minor thing. It's a very minor thing. So
well, not only minor, but it's just it's a politically losing strategy. And this politics we're involved with, like all politics, is very largely a matter of talk. People talking, saying things, and people hearing things and saying things back. It's rhetoric. That's what politics is, like it or not. And what you choose to say or not say is vitally important in this game. And talking about that sort of thing, and talking about relationships at all, complaining about the state of relationships, analyzing the riddle of relationships, that's just, to my mind, not something that, not a place where we politically ought to go at all. And I'm speaking for myself, and I look around and I see people who don't follow that advice at all, and it makes me grit my teeth. But what can I do? I just try to stand up and be me and not be conflated with anybody else, and that's hard because they do want to conflate you.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway, I think we should move along now to a different stage of the episode. As we so customarily do here, we're going to talk about some things on the internet.
Woo! Things.
Items. Points of interest. Now, things is a good general purpose word. You know, I use it all the time. Things
Bring
on the
in all
internet.
the things.
Well, it's one thing or another, isn't it?
Yeah.
Cue number 2 on your cue list. This is from a website called firstpost.com. The title of the article is Neutral Law Needed to Protect Victims of Domestic Violence. This is an item out of India. Interesting things happening in the subcontinent. That is the hot spot of, okay, I'll say it, men's rights activism on planet Earth. I mean, they've got it going on here more than anybody else. You want to talk about boots on the ground. Well, India is where it's happening. You know, Mumbai and Calcutta and Delhi and so on. That's where it's happening.
Whatever they're doing there, they must be doing something right.
Well, they're doing something right. They're doing something. And they're doing it dramatically, and they're doing it in numbers, and they're doing it with great precision.
They're developing an infrastructure. That is what they're doing. That's what they're doing right.
Very good, Nick. That cinches it right there. They're developing an infrastructure. Let's see. Madurai, the Madras High Court on Thursday called for a neutral and non-prejudicial law to protect genuine victims of domestic violence. Irrespective, here we go, irrespective of the gender, noting that existing law contains a flaw that lends itself to easy misuse by women. Pause for a minute and let that sink in.
Yeah.
Law to protect genuine victims of domestic violence, irrespective of the gender, noting that existing law contains a flaw that lends itself to easy misuse by women. I can't imagine an article like this appearing in an American newspaper. Spino, can you imagine something like that appearing in England?
Not in the near future, no.
I didn't think so. Irrespective of the gender, noting that existing, I hate it when they use the word gender, but oh well. Irrespective of the gender, noting that existing law contains a flaw that lends itself to easy misuse by women. I can hear the feminists coughing up blood and choking on that. I can see their heads exploding, and their brains shooting out under pressure and painting pornographic images on the wall, miraculously.
I wouldn't be surprised if there are feminists actually opposing this at the moment.
I would not be a bit surprised. The contrary would surprise me. Okay.
Yeah.
The notable flaw in this law is that it lends itself to such easy misuse that women will find it hard to resist the temptation to teach lesson to their male relatives and will file frivolous and false cases. Justice S. Vaidyanathan said, "Oh no, women would never do that, would they?" Well, I mean, some women. No portion of women, no woman anywhere on earth, no finite number of women would ever, under any circumstances, engage in that kind of behavior ever.
But men falsely accused might gain from the experience.
Oh God, yeah, it's a pain I would not spare them. Not necessarily.
It's a good pain, apparently. Yeah, being falsely accused of rape. It's not something anybody should be spared. And by the way, that was what we're referencing here was spoken by a feminist. One Catherine Commons, I believe the Dean of Student Life was her title at Vassar, way back around 1990 or the late 1980s, thereabouts. They're still saying things like that today. Some of them are trying not to say things like that, but the pressure to say things like that is too great, and sometimes it just pops up anyway. It's like a lava fence.
Oh man, I just watched Sandman's tape of Jeff Pereira at the 2014 Slut Walk,
Oh, Jeff Pereira.
and he was
I've had some interchanges with him.
yeah, yeah. I can only imagine. He's he was saying he's saying when men say not all men, that's not helping. Like, Jesus Christ.
They're using that phrase a lot these days. I've noticed that doesn't help, or that's not helping.
Yeah, well, they've been saying that for a long time. It's not
Well,
helpful.
they've been saying
It's
it for a
not
long time, but they're dialing up the mix, dialing up that in the mix now more than I've been hearing it frequently.
You can tell that they're not interested in truth when they say that. If you say that's not helping, then
it's not helping
clearly
them. It's not helping them and what they're trying to do, meaning it interferes with what they're trying to do. So therefore, it does not help. You know, they're
and it's just that's the first thing that comes to their minds is that's not helping, as opposed to that's not true. Or if it is true, it's not helping them say anything. It's a truth that they would rather leave unspoken because it gets in the way.
Gets in their way.
Oh yeah, I've been criticized for caring about honesty by a feminist. They'll just come right out and say
it. Wow.
Anyway, let's get on with this article. Oh, whoa, where was I? Women will find it hard to resist the temptation to teach a lesson to their male relatives and will file frivolous and false cases, Justice S. Unpronounceable said. He was dismissing a petition by a woman who sought to stop the promotion of her father-in-law, a government school teacher. Stop his promotion, citing pendency of a criminal case filed against him and others in-laws on a complaint from her. A criminal case filed against him on a complaint from her, and then she turned around and used that criminal case that she had originally filed as grounds to get in the way of his promotion. That's just truly diabolical, truly Byzantine, the way she operates there. The judge pulled up the woman for using domestic violence as a tool to, quote, wreak vengeance on her father-in-law and imposed a fine of 5,000 rupees on her. He observed that filing of cases under the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act, I guess that must be the Indian equivalent of VAWA, the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act by women had become common, and a neutral and unprejudicial law was needed to protect genuine victims of domestic violence, irrespective of gender. Whoa, trying to imagine some federal judge in the United States coming out with something like that, and the shitstorm that would follow, and the equivalent in England, I'm sure, and many other, Canada. Let's not even talk about Canada. He observed that filing of cases, I keep reading over what I just read. Okay, it is no doubt true that the perpetrators of domestic violence need to be appropriately punished and dealt with. But at the same time, protection cannot be withheld to real victims for reasons whatsoever, at least of all their gender, the judge said in his order dismissing the petition by Loha. And I guess that's the woman question. He further said, since the petitioner's father-in-law is a government servant, it has become so easier for her to target him. She wanted to throw him out of the job by lodging a complaint in order to pressure him to come for a settlement in one way or the other using the Domestic Violence Act. Boy, who would have thought that when you make the means available for manipulative people to do manipulative things, who would have thought that they would actually step forward and do manipulative things when you make the opportunity available? Who would think that would ever happen?
But women are oppressed. Patriarchy.
Patriarchy. Now, I don't want to be too hard on women here. As I said elsewhere, What feminism has done is just pull out all the stops for women, is release the restraints upon women, and it
Oh
doesn't
yeah,
bother
if men were given the same opportunities, there would be a subset of men who would do the exact same thing.
exact same thing, yes. So I like to say feminism unleashes or releases the dark feminine, the dark side of human nature on the female side. It says there is a dark side of human nature for women and for men. And feminism just empowers women to express the dark side of human nature on the female side, and it puts more weights and more clamps on the male side and blames it all on men. Now, that's a pretty concise definition of what feminism does and how it operates. Okay? And some feminists will pop up here and say, well, wait, not all feminists are like that. Well, there is standpoint, ideological standpoint, and then there is the movement as a whole. And the movement as a whole is a social organism and a power structure of a society, and it operates in a certain way, and over time it pushes the world along a certain line of development, which is roughly predictable. And that direction is the direction indicated by radical feminism, which is the direction of female supremacy. So we leave them to their devices, and they will ultimately create a world of female supremacy. It'll just happen. The direction being sought by the petitioner to stop promotion of her father-in-law was in no way helpful to her to resolve and amicably settle the issue so as to live with her husband, if she was really interested in the union, he said. The petitioner had submitted she was thrown out of her matrimonial home after she lodged a police complaint accusing her husband of demanding dowry and father-in-law of attempting to molest her, based on which a case had been registered. Now, on the face of it, we have no evidence one way or the other of whether these things are true. She came to know that her father-in-law was going to be promoted as headmaster, she said, contending that as per rules, a person having a criminal case against him was not entitled to be promoted. She made a representation to the officials against her father-in-law to take departmental action, but no action was taken. And that's the end of the article. This is not the first little sunbeam of hope breaking through the dark clouds that I've seen in India. It must be that the men's rights movement in India is beginning to take a toll. The message is beginning to percolate through the power infrastructure in that society. The judges a few months ago, in fact, we featured this on the Vanguard report, made a ruling on the 498A dowry law, recognizing what was wrong with it, what was flawed about it, and attempting to fix it. So we see these little hopeful signs popping up along the road. That's the article there. And anybody, Nick, Spino, anything you want to share in regard to that?
Well, I guess in this case, India is somehow miles ahead of the West then in the case of domestic violence law.
Well, good on them.
Yeah, Pakistani tribal courts, on the other hand, continue to be thousands of years behind the rest of us.
Oh, of course.
Are you familiar with the story of the 10-year-old boy getting charged with?
Oh, yep.
Yeah, getting charged with a relationship with a woman in her late 30s. Yeah, it's by a traditional. Yeah, your microphone is really quiet. So, yeah, but a tribal court in Pakistan has there. You can see it on AVFM or on Sargon's This Week in Stupid. But yeah, there's a case where a 10-year-old boy was found guilty by a tribal court for his involvement with a woman in her late 30s.
Well, the interesting thing about these horrible stories about tribal courts and other things happening in like third world countries generally, um, a lot of the time you'll hear about terrible things happening to women. What you will not hear typically reported in the media is the terrible things happening to men as well.
Or you will hear them. You just won't hear them as things happening specifically to men. It's kind of the media would report an accident, 500 people die, including 33 women and children.
Right. Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
Understood.
They're miners or they're soldiers or they're workers or something, but they're not men. Yeah.
Well, the larger point I think that we need to keep in sight here is that the feminists in the first world, in North America, England, Europe, Australia, and so on, are very keen to talk about the horrible, horrible, horrible bloodbath against women taking place everywhere else on Earth, it seems. And we have to realize that since lying is a prevalent behavior among feminists, they're lying about that as much as they're lying about anything else. But their opportunity to do so and the ease with which they can do so is so much greater because their audience here in North America, Europe, and so on is really not in a position to fact check everything. So they can very, very artfully cherry pick stories from all these remote countries and string together a picture that is not necessarily the best depiction of what's really happening. And I've talked to enough people in various countries around the world that I seriously have my doubts about all these horrible stories about the endemic rape that's supposedly happening in India. I've heard information to contradict that. So, and the media is all filter. The media is nothing but lies.
So no different to here then.
No different here, and we know one thing is a rock of Gibraltar that we can depend on in our understanding of feminists and feminist behavior. Feminism is it absolutely depends upon lying. Lying is a constant behavior among feminists, and they can't stop. They'll lie about anything. There's no reason why they would suddenly start telling the truth about something that happens halfway around the world.
Yeah, it's a lot of what they do does have to do with just lying for the sake of like even when it's obvious that it's a lie, like they just do it just to exercise being able to get away with it and exercise their power to tell you bullshit to your face and have you just totally agree with them because you have to.
Or alternatively, to get very angry and incite your anger as a form of violence or aggression on their part.
Yeah, you're really quiet there, Fetal Bogan. You're gonna have to turn up your mic somehow.
Okay, how's this?
It's a bit better.
Okay, good. I'm plagued with technical issues sometimes. All right.
Okay.
Got another article to read. How is my audio doing right now?
All right, that's good.
Okay. Sometimes I talk more quietly. Sometimes I speak up a little more, and that's reflected in my microphone, I think, somehow. Moving along. This is cue number 2 from the Telegraph, UK. Contraception, male pill is coming, and it's going to change everything.
This is exactly what I've been wanting to hear.
Well, you're going to hear it. You're going to hear it. Here we go. From the Telegraph, UK, the male pill is coming, and it's going to change everything. Scroll down here past the little picture of birth control pills. And my browser is being cantankerous. Bear with me. Oh. Okay. The male pill is coming. It's going to change everything. New forms of male contraception are estimated to hit the market in a few years, and unlike women's options, most won't contain hormones. Hurrah. Aaron Hamlin explains why you need to care. Oh, there's a lot of reasons to care about that, but let's read the article. Pardon me. It's just not scrolling efficiently. Okay, male contraception is coming. This is written by Aaron Hamlin, Executive Director of the Male Contraception Initiative. Male contraception is coming. Vasogel is a non-hormonal male contraceptive owned by the medical research organization, the Arsemas Foundation. It's poised as the first FDA, Food and Drug Administration panel, approved male contraceptive since the condom. What's more, it's estimated to hit the U.S. market around 2018 to 2020 and could change the way we view contraception forever. Duh, no shit, Sherlock. It's easy, too. One injection would last for years. Research tells us that at least half of men will use it. And they're talking about Vasogel here. They'll take that little operation with that little injection. Half of men will do that. Well, that's interesting information here. Vasogel is essentially a polymer that's injected under local anesthetic into the man's sperm carrying tube, accessible through his scrotum, not in his penis or testicles, as some authors have heard. It works by blocking sperm and is expected to be reversible through a second injection that dissolves the polymer. We'll know for sure its length of efficacy and whether it's fully reversible after the medical trials, which begin in 2016. That's next year. And they're going to, I guess, try that out on gerbils and guinea pigs and whatnot, and maybe chimpanzees. Another advantage of Vasogel is that while it blocks sperm, other fluid can still pass through. This should reduce any risk of pain due to back pressure, an occasional issue with vasectomies. This could make Vasogel pardon me. This could make Vasogel a bestseller even among men seeking a permanent contraceptive option. Of course, you might well be skeptical about whether men will actually choose the Vasogel injection, but every year, millions around the globe get vasectomies. That is both more invasive and, unlike Vasogel, intended to be permanent. But there are other options. Genderusa, another non-hormonal contraceptive, has gone through phase 2 human trials in Indonesia. The method is hypothesized to work by preventing the sperm's ability to fertilize an egg. In other words, it works about like the female birth control pill works. Another method, this one, except non-hormonally, another method, this one from the U.S., is an anti-epin agent that targets sperm's ability to swim. Both of these non-hormonal methods would involve the man taking a pill. These contraceptives are the first in line because they have support from clinical trials, but there are many others, including the clean sheets pill, designed to allow orgasm while inhibiting ejaculation. That's a clean sheets pill. It's being developed in London, and because of advances in biotechnology, researchers keep getting new ideas. The bulk of them non-hormonal. Oh no, people getting non-hormonal ideas. As many women would attest, avoiding hormones would be a luxury. Ensuring that avoiding hormones would be a luxury, okay. Ensuring that contraception was worry and side effect free. Male contraception is bound to make a lot of guys happy. Yes, I think so, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Being able to control the when, if, and with who you become a parent is a big deal. But you can expect their partners to smile too. And not every woman finds the more effective contraceptives, such as intrauterine or implant devices, acceptable, possibly due to hormones or their unpredictable effect on menstruation. Others, such as the pill, may not be the best option because of our human nature to forget things. Half of women report forgetting at least one pill during their last cycle. Yeah, boy, wouldn't that be easy to forget? You know, if there's one day you don't pop that little thing. Yeah, I can see how that would be a problem. According to a study in the American Journal of Obstetrics and Gynecology, this is this is why the pill's real-world annual pregnancy rate is 9% instead of closer to its much lower perfect use pregnancy rate of 0.3%. For women, it will be life-changing to have men help out in the contraceptive department with a method other than condoms. They could replace or supplementing, okay, grammatical blunder here, they could replace or supplement a woman's existing method, both partners taking something is better than one. And if the couple or individual man decides that Vasogel is a good option, forgetfulness won't be a worry. There's nothing for the guy to remember. This is a total game changer for couples as well as single women and men. It moves the contraceptive burden into shared territory. This isn't to say that condoms will go away just because of a new male contraceptive. Condoms didn't go away after the pill or intrauterine contraceptives became commonplace. Geez, I wonder why condoms didn't go away at that time. That's a real mystery, isn't it? Sarcasm, in case anybody missed it. As a barrier method, they will still play an important role against sexually transmitted infections. But condoms alone aren't good enough for pregnancy prevention. They are good enough for pregnancy prevention, except when they are not. With perfect use, let's just say that they don't have an unbroken record of success. With perfect use, the annual pregnancy rate for the condom is 2%. But in the real world, where couples don't always use condoms consistently or correctly, the annual pregnancy rate is 18%. For pregnancy prevention, many couples need other options. There might be a number of prospective male contraceptives, but it's not plain sailing. Funding is tough. In fact, there's more money dedicated to figuring out how best to sterilize your family pet than there is to research new male contraceptives. I remember an article written by a feminist some years ago called "Men Are Dogs, But We Love Them Anyway," and somehow reading this passage just here brought that into my brain all at once.
Yeah, no, we're much lower than dogs because dogs are better for fundraising.
Dogs are better for fundraising, yes, and the dogs have their birth control, but apparently men don't. I don't know. Frankly, that's just offensive. Well, yes, it is. The painful truth about sexual health services in Britain today, okay, that's a link, I'm sorry, but there is reason to be hopeful. The non-profit Packard Foundation has given the folks behind Vasogel an initial breath, and there are some pockets of government funding out there, albeit limited. Still, it's not enough, and that needs to change. To address this shortage, last month the Male Contraception Initiative asked contraceptive researchers to send in funding proposals. Our initial stage will be to crowdfund for the research project. We'll then use success from the initial crowdfunding to target large donors so that bigger projects can be funded. It's easy to see why so many people would be interested in male contraception given its potential social impact. Bing, 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 bing. Its potential social impact. Now it's getting interesting. Just imagine yourself as a teenager who's not even finished growing, or as a student with no financial stability. Now throw in parenthood. You get the idea. New forms of male contraception could change lives, relationships, and sex for all of us. What better reason to get behind them? And that is the article. Man,
Well,
boy, there's a lot of meat to chew on here.
yeah. Oh, I kind of made myself a little pet project, and I spent several hours doing some digging, and I was searching for feminists who were against male contraception, and
They're out
I
there.
actually had some serious difficulty finding them.
They're out there. They're out there. You've
Yeah,
been
they are out there, most
you've been in
probably
this
on
game
Tumblr.
for I think under a year, and you are finding out what we've been in it for years. Have known.
I mean, obviously, there's the 1974 World Health Conference in Budapest, where the feminists decided to boycott it due to the fact that there was male contraceptives being sort of put forward there. But outside of that, there seems to be very little in terms of feminist articles talking about it and things. Probably it's more of a soft resistance.
You say when you say
That
talking
because
about it,
there's so little talk about male
you
contraception.
mean promoting it or at least boosting it in some way, right?
Yeah, both promoting and attacking. It seems to be such a small issue for some reason, and I don't know
Well,
why. Because I
that
think it's a really important one.
well, regardless of the why or why not, I mean the silence itself is telling. And I have many times seen feminists pretty much pouring cold water on the idea. They are very, very uneasy with the idea that men have reproductive freedom. And this
Yeah.
opens a can of worms, and boy, those worms go everywhere. And basically, well, to wrap this up really quickly, or at least wrap up a part of this quickly, um, women can no longer trap men with
Well,
pregnancy.
they will still be able to. They just
Well,
won't be trapping
provided
as many.
provided that men are not making use of these new technologies that will be available to them, yes. But if you consider, if you remember that feminism is at its core, at its heart, is the project to increase the power of women. All the central drive is all about increasing the power of women, and nobody can disagree with that. Even a feminist could not very well disagree with that. So much how would that interfere with the project of empowering women if you empower men in the realm of reproductive freedom? Anybody want to handle that question?
Well, because it would only uh, it would only hamper it. I can't. I got nothing. I'm not going to tackle that one.
Well,
The problem is there's just
go
so
ahead, go
much.
ahead.
There's so little talk about it, and I'm going to keep saying this, but the silence is deafening, especially from feminists. Most of the time when I brought up the issue to them, they derail it, say, "Oh well, the science isn't coming out yet. Okay, whatever," and then just sort of shoot it down, and then never talk about it again.
I've heard other things from feminists over the years. One thing that I heard is really, really incredibly arrogant, callous. I've heard them say something like, "We don't need this. We shouldn't do this because most men would use it." What they say.
Yeah,
I
I've
mean, the
heard
whole
that argument, and it just rings of, well, the same argument against female contraception, that women wouldn't use it. And the
women,
difference is in this case, the that male contraceptive would last years, a
well,
single
you're
injection for
talking about
years.
vaginal gel, yeah, but
Yeah, Vasogel.
but they've got other options as well. But
Yeah.
I mean, that the arrogance of saying, I mean, if any further proof were needed that feminism is about hating men, I mean, the statement that, oh well, men wouldn't use this. First of all, how do they know this? I
Yeah,
mean,
and there's also I did see this
that
characterization.
is an excuse to not go forward with development.
I also saw this strange characterization of men apparently would lie about being on the pill and then leave a woman with the child.
Which is something women are perfectly capable of doing now.
Yeah, and not only that, but men couldn't do that because the laws.
Well, I mean, they could do that if they wanted to run afoul of the law.
Yeah, it would be.
The law comes down hard on men who skip out on paternity.
Exactly, which is why that characterization and that argument doesn't make any sense.
Well, nothing they say makes much sense, or well, it makes a kind of sense, but it's a very evil, very immoral kind of sense.
You have to keep in mind that whenever you're hearing a feminist argument, like they will tell you one thing and then they'll tell you the exact opposite in the next breath, and not see any disconnect between the two, because they're not arguing from logos. What they're saying, it's all
from what
cognitive dissonance, just pure cognitive dissonance.
Like just the words that they're using don't have word value as you and I understand it.
They're talking the language of fem speak.
Well, it's like when you look at it's just like a noise that you make, like laughing or crying to that. Like when you look at me at the 2013 slut walk, or Lauren Southern at the 2015 slut walk. You know, she said that she was surrounded by like a whole bunch of them and they were yelling at her, and she had the same experience, a similar experience to me. Like, I was talking with like a crowd of people, and like one person would yell a question at me, and then like another person would yell one right after that. So like, nobody seemed to care that they were being talked over because
this is what we call the 500-gallon treatment.
Yeah. Yeah.
How will different people yell questions at you, but one person will yell 12 different questions at you, and so totally muddle the issue that it's impossible for you to maintain an argument.
And then and just based on that structure that you've described there, you can easily tell that they're not interested in having those questions answered, which comes back to what I was saying. The words themselves don't matter to these people. They're using it's a verbal stoning is what it is. They're just throwing rocks at you.
Boys are stupid, throw rocks at them.
Yeah. And yeah,
I think the other thing is that they don't expect the questions to be answered, because if the questions were posed to them, they wouldn't want to answer them, because they're afraid of questions, they're afraid of being questioned, and they project that onto everyone else.
They have a fear of commitment, in this case, intellectual or moral commitment, because by committing to some position, then there is a chain of subsequent commitments that would be demanded of them in order to be consistent with the first commitment. And this would eventually trap them in their own actions. They wouldn't be able to, feminism as a whole wouldn't be able to do what feminism does anymore. They had to operate within a consistent set of rules and boundaries. So they're always trying to skip out on that. And
yeah, that sounds about right.
Sounds about right. Anyway, as we all know, there are 5 legal rights that women have that men don't. And Nick, you recall what those were, or finals?
I only know of 2. Those are the right to genital integrity and the right to legal paternal surrender, also known as financial abortion.
Okay, well there's 5, and you've just named off 2 of them. There is the right to vote without volunteering to die, aka the draft.
That's actually
we actually have that in the UK. So because the draft and conscription was actually taken away.
Yeah,
and well, in the UK, that's maybe there's an exception, but the 5 that I'm listing off here still have some degree of force.
Well, even in the States, it's not quite the same thing. It's selective service. I mean, you get signed up automatically now.
Well, but still,
it's not a direct.
Women are not subject to that as men are.
Yeah, it's not a direct sign up. You have to sign up to Selective Service to vote. It's sometimes if you register to vote, they'll automatically sign you up for Selective Service. And a lot of the laws are kind of fuzzy around it.
Yeah, this is something I've always been very, I've taken a lot of flack from other MRAs or whatever for this because I point like the argument that they use is like, well, if you don't sign up for Selective Service, then you don't get to vote because a felony prevents you from voting, and that's kind of true. I looked up a voter registration form from Wisconsin or Wyoming or something, and it did have a list of federal offenses that would prevent a person from voting, but among them was not failure to apply for Selective Service. It's it's a state by state thing where some people can lose their right to vote for failing to apply for Selective Service.
It's a state by state thing, but in localities it does apply. So it's very often the case that
it's generally on a case by case basis. We need to
volunteer. It's something that is much enforced across the face of the world in various places. So in that sense, it merits a place on the list. So we have that. We have legal paternal surrender, which is, in other words, women can opt out of parenthood, but men cannot. There's genital integrity, Nick, which you mentioned. There is the right to call coerced unwanted sex and rape. And what is the fifth? Gosh, I can't remember. Nick, what are the two that you listed?
Would it have anything to do with fathers' rights?
Maybe. Nick, you mentioned two.
I listed genital integrity and financial abortion. That's it. I mean, you might be referring
right to assumed custody then.
Oh,
right to default custody.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That fills out the entire slide right there. Okay. Those are things, rights that women have, advantages that women have in law over men. And at least in the first world, the Western world, there's not many rights under law, or any rights under law, that men have and women don't. But then women do have an edge. So this thing about male contraception, while this will not correct the imbalance in law, it will certainly put men ahead of the game in that department, and allow men to stay out of trouble and effectively render the power of that right or that non-right moot. Once effective birth control is available to men and they're willing to use it effectively, they really won't have so much to worry about in that department. Legal paternal surrender will not become an issue because they will not be, they will not fall into paternity in the first place. And currently, I mean, women have all the advantages. I'm not complaining about this. I'm simply stating the facts. Okay, not as one advocating men's rights, but as a reporter, just explaining what is and what's going on.
I'm having a real hard time hearing you, Fetal Bogan.
Okay, how about now?
It's much better.
Spinosaurus, are you having a hard time hearing me?
Sometimes.
Okay.
It comes and goes.
I am plagued with technical issues. It's a curse. Anyway, so this new male contraception will give men an edge in that department. It will empower men. And anytime you empower men, you are taking power away from women. I mean, that might not be intuitive, the first time I say it, but if you think about it, that is the case. Feminism is the project to increase the power of women. And you have to ask the question, increase the power, that can only mean something in relation to something else. And it can only mean increasing the power of women in relation to the power of men. And anytime you give men power, you are altering the power differential between men and women. And the feminist project is to alter that differential always in favor of women, leaving men more and more progressively more and more behind. And as the feminist project progresses into the future, in order to really be on track and accomplish this mission, it has to do just that very thing. And the male contraception is coming up. We'll take a big bite out of that. And feminists are not happy. They're not talking about it, or they're talking against it. And the ones that aren't talking about it, the reason they're not talking about it is because they don't want to talk against it, because it wouldn't look very good if they were to talk against it. So they're just very predictably avoiding the subject. Any thoughts from anybody?
Well, that's kind of the way that feminists work. If they want to sound like they're still for equality, they will always hide behind, well, I haven't said anything about that.
They haven't said anything about like that, but others have. And
yeah. And by not saying anything, you are implicitly supporting the status quo. That is something I heard from a feminist. Yeah. So honestly, if they're gonna say, oh well, I haven't said anything against what you do, well, what are you doing for it?
Well, silence is often taken as a sign of weakness, and
the silence is deafening when it comes to men's issues. When with feminism, they don't talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, if like there's two major feminist organizations. Well, I mean, there's obviously more than that, but the two ones are NOW, the National Organization of Women, and UN Women, I think it's called.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, if they want to demonstrate that they are for gender equality, then they could do something about circumcision laws tomorrow. Like they could put in a word, and it would be done. Like all across the UN, you know, everywhere female genital cutting and female infant genital cutting is reviled, it'd be, or is illegal anyway, it would be just as illegal in all those places. If these feminist groups would say would put pressure on the government on governments to enact legal or enact equality in the law, right, under the law, but they don't, and there's no feminist out there asking why.
They put pressure on the government on the appropriate powers to be as opposed to be.
Yeah, you know, all of a sudden, the only feminists you can find are the ones who say, "Well, that's not my feminism."
Well,
they spend all their time disavowing those groups, but then they're not doing anything about opposing them.
But they are showing up to their rallies with signs.
Yeah, and the thing is, in other groups, say like political groups, say like communists, for example. If there was a group of extremist communists, I wouldn't ask my a communist friend that I know, okay, what are you doing about those crazy extremists? Because that's not their problem. Because they're not. Because that's just extremists from a specific political ideology. But when it comes to feminism, they promise equality. That means everything. Yeah, so they took their responsibility to fight for gender equality, and if they're not going to fight for gender equality that would benefit men, then they're not fighting for gender equality at all. Zero-sum game.
It is a zero-sum game. It's an infinite game, and again, you know, you're talking about a different language here. You're talking about fem speak rather than English, or rather than whatever language you speak as your mother tongue. Equality means something different to them than it means to most people. It's what a feminist means by equality is something completely counterintuitive to most people. And they've got a very elaborate philosophy of inequality. And really, I mean, I have spoken and written about this before. The word equality, and I think Nick will bear me out on this, the word equality ought to be confined to the realm of mathematics. We're talking about balancing numbers on different sides of the equal sign. There, the concept of equality is meaningful. You get outside of that realm, and it's worse. It just creates an endless quagmire of misunderstanding and a right field of opportunity for opportunistic manipulators, such as feminists. So, that was article on contraception from the UK Telegraph. What else we got here on our list of things to talk about? Cue number 3, Inquisitor.com. Happy Father's Day, Mom. Have we all heard about that one?
Just fuck everyone.
Father's Day.
Ever
mothers
brought that up.
Celebrate motherhood on Father's Day. That seems, counterintuitive. I came across a short article about this. Not much of an article, but it's food for thought on a website called theinquisitor.com. That's the word inquisitor spelled without an O after the final T or an E after the final T. Inquisitor.com. Happy Father's Day, Mom. AngelSoft ad causes unexpected outrage. Justified? So, just to wrap this up, the AngelSoft toilet paper company put out an ad praising mothers on Father's Day, and their slogan was Happy Father's Day, Mom. Just when Father's Day is beginning to show some signs of traction, starting to pick up as a thing, and then somebody's got to throw lime juice all over it by making it a celebration of motherhood. This makes me think of the comic book character Thor, who has been made into a woman recently.
Or the Ghostbusters being rebooted as women. That's I'm still gonna go see it because it's the Ghostbusters, and I hope they do a good job of it. But oh my god.
Well, I think the problem here is it's just this appropriation of male things. They can't create their own stuff. These people just cannibalize other media. It's the same reason why people like Anita Sarkeesian will hate when you ask them to make their own games if they don't like it. They see it as a derailing tactic because they're there to complain about what's they can't create their own stuff. They aren't creative. They're drones.
Their idea of empowering women is more along the lines of sucking the blood out of men.
Yeah. More and more and more. This is the dynamic that they have, is that if they can't push you around, you're abusing them. And that is a classic marker for someone with borderline personality disorder.
Yeah, they can shout, stop hit. They can hit you, and then at the same time shout, stop hitting me.
Yeah. Well, it's like a couple episodes ago. You read through Peter Bogan. You read through Emma Sulkowicz's statement before her porn video there, and she said, "Do you want to take away my agency by basically not believing her?" Was the charge that if we didn't believe her, then we were taking away her agency. And like if
just thought crime.
Yeah, and if they can't tell you what to think, then you are abusing them, and that is really what is being laid bare here. Like if they when they talk about consent, you're gonna have to get their consent to take a piss soon enough. Like you have to get their consent to think your own thoughts. That's why they're putting.
When feminists are complaining about bathrooms there being too long lines around women's bathrooms, you're thinking, oh yeah, maybe you will need consent to take a piss.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, it is that mentality, and it can be argued that it's just inherent in women, or at least some women, to just be kind of bossy cunts, and just tell people what to do, and think that they are entitled to tell a lot of guys what to do. Now, I don't know if that's cultural, or if that's a result of feminism or what.
Feminism has very heavily attracted that kind of personality, no doubt.
Yeah.
Well, what we got to remember is that this was something that always happened, and it's just that feminists have been fucking with the records. This is how it always was.
Women telling men what to do.
Yeah, women have always been. There's always been chauvinistic women. You can look at the coffee houses example, or where women demanded that the coffee houses be banned because men were going to them.
Yeah, and yeah, they were going to be unable to please their wives, because coffee does that to you, apparently.
Yeah, so we shouldn't pretend that this is anything new.
No,
this is just as regressive as anything. This is just as regressive as your fundamentalist preacher shouting how gay people are bad or whatever.
There is something new about it. If it's not new at its core, there is some new aspects, some new twist given to it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's a new twist. There's a new way to spin it, but
yeah, there's nothing new under the sun. The more things change, the more they stay the same. I love timeless wisdom like that, because
I love that quote. I love that quote.
Yes, I mean things really in this world of human beings, things really don't change. The real fundamental things, they don't change. The more things change, the more they stay the same. Well, let's go on with this article I'm reading, this short article. Happy Father's Day, Mom. Angel Soft has made several enemies with those four simple, seemingly harmless words. Several enemies. That doesn't sound like very many. I think it's more than several. Why are the naysayers so upset about the ad? Because they feel like it devalues the role that fathers play in the development of their children. No, that's not exactly why they're mad about the ad. That may be, why some of the people are mad about the ad. I'm more mad about the ad because of the blatant aggression. The blatant aggression of trying to stop anything that is male positive. I'm not even thinking about the role that fathers play in the development of their children. I'm talking about the political and propagandistic symbolism of this. Okay? That's my angle of entry into all of this. Okay, and to an extent, you may be able to see their point, right? While no one can deny that mothers are integral to the growth and development of a child, and that many more men than women neglect their parental duties. Okay, the idea behind celebrating Father's Day is to celebrate the men who do so up. Now this is seriously inflammatory language. Did you guys catch that?
No, I didn't catch it.
Well, I breezed through it kind of fast there. I'm going to read this again. While no one can deny that mothers are integral to the growth and development of a child, okay, no problem with that. And that many, here we go, listen. And that many more men than women neglect their parental duties. Does anybody see the problem with that statement?
Oh, yeah, exactly. Parental duties.
Yeah, you
alien. I don't believe that anybody would have the nerve to say a thing like that.
Yeah, you alienate men, and then you blame them for absenteeism. That is the ultimate stop hitting yourself.
To boil this down, if you treat people like shit, they will not act like gold.
Yeah, and
That's
it's not just that, but it's the fact that a lot of fathers are forced into parenthood against their consent, and oh, what are you surprised? A lot of them reluctant to be parents. A lot of these men who aren't ready to be parents, who know they're not ready, and are being forced against their will, turn out to not be good at what they were forced into doing.
Yeah.
It's the same. It's the same reason that that when the slave trade disbanded, the economy didn't fall apart, was because then the workers were treated better. They could choose to do the work, and oh look, their productivity increased because they weren't being forced. They had better conditions.
well,
If a man is to be trapped into a shotgun wedding, he's not going to be happy. How is he supposed to function in a happy safe with this child? How is this child supposed to develop if the dad is there at gunpoint, effectively?
that's one aspect of it. The other aspect of it that I see here is that they say many more men than women neglect their parental duties, and there's no reason to believe that that is even true, full stop.
Yeah, and
No
why
reason to
even
believe that
mention it?
women don't
What is the point
neglect
of
their
mentioning
parental
this at this
duties as
point?
much as men do. This is a blatant slander, and it does raise my.
And it's an irrelevant point.
Closer to the boiling point. Yes.
Why mention that other than to downplay the role of the father in the home?
Yeah,
Other than to take a slap against men as a group. Not just
Exactly.
fathers, but it's not just anti-fathers, anti-male straight across the board. That's what I'm.
It's the same. It's the same thing when when a lot of people will point out things like the sentencing gap. They'll say, but of course men commit more crimes than women, or domestic violence. Of course women are victims of domestic violence and they're abused by men. It's the same thing over and over again. It's this. Oh yes, okay, we know we have to fit in with this narrative because otherwise we will get hated for it.
There you go, the narrative. It's all about the narrative. The nitwit who wrote this article probably didn't know what the hell he or she was saying. And I think it was a she that wrote it, although the author is not listed. But anyway, so the idea behind celebrating the article carries on here. The idea behind celebrating Father's Day is to celebrate the men who do show up. Is that the idea behind celebrating Father's Day? Is to pat men on the back for not neglecting their parental duties? Is that specifically the reason for Father's Day?
Then what's the point of Mother's Day?
Yeah.
Is it not the exact same thing?
Father's Day.
These people do not have. This is the point with all of these people, is that they don't understand what the term equality means, because otherwise they would understand what a double standard is.
They understand what it means in their own mind.
This is why I say that the only standards feminists have are double standards.
Yeah, that's a great, amazing atheist quote.
My favorite amazing atheist quote.
Feminists are intellectually opportunistic. They change the rule. Basically, they change the rules. Feminism itself changes the rules as necessary in order to keep on track with the feminist project and to maintain the feminist narrative. That is why there are so many different kinds of feminism operating concurrently in the world. Feminism cannot, for the sake of its own survival, operate under one clear, consistent set of rules. That would quickly put it into feminism. They would run out of gas in very short order. So, this astounding paragraph in this little article here, I'm going to read the whole thing again slowly. While no one can deny that mothers are integral to the growth and development of a child, and that many more men than women neglect their parental duties. Evidence, please. The idea behind celebrating Father's Day is to celebrate the men who do show up. Aha. So we're being told that men are bad parents more than women are, and we're being told that the purpose of Father's Day is to pat men on the back for not being bad men. And I'll
Yeah,
let that sink
and
in.
the whole thing is it's just, oh yeah, well, of course men are expected to be fathers. When a man does something, he's just expected to do it. It's this obligation. Men
Okay.
shouldn't be thanked for doing what their job is.
And the nerve of these people who write articles in the media, who have a public platform to make their voices heard, you keep saying these things. You just say that men neglect their parental duties more than women. There is absolutely no evidence that that's true. In
Well, and
fact,
there,
if anything, the opposite is the case.
yeah, but the thing is, there is something to be said for the philosophy that you should never thank someone for doing what they're supposed to do,
Oh, there is,
right?
but that's not
But
the problem here.
the problem is that they are selectively applying it, right? There's a lot of there's there's a lot of great expectations that they place on men. The only problem is they only place those expectations on men.
Yeah,
Like it'd be great if we were holding everyone to these rigid Spartan standards, but we're only holding half the population to them.
That's it. The only standard feminism has double standards. That's well said.
yeah, this is the biggest problem is that men men don't actually generally get the chance to do the roles that women have. They don't get to be the actual primary carers most of the time. It's
Okay.
they're the disposable wallets effectively.
Okay. Anyway, not being a men's rights advocate myself, I don't generally dwell on things like that so much. Rather, as opposed to just pointing out the crimes and transgressions of feminism. Let's see, reading on in the article, whether it's the biological dad or a caring stepfather who steps into the role for a needy child, the day is supposed to be about those guys, not about the guys that can only make a baby while failing physically and fatherhood. By shifting the focus to single mothers, critics are accusing Angel Soft of denigrating the good guys on the day that is supposed to be their day. There we go. There we go. I like the narrative. Well, I don't like the narrative that this writer is spinning. Um, Father's Day is a way to pat good men on the back for not being bad. That's the idea that this writer is putting across. It's not a day to celebrate fatherhood just for fatherhood. It's a way to congratulate men for not being bad fathers. That is a serious insult to every man on planet Earth right there. They got Mother's Day for whatever reason they celebrate that, and Father's Day is not simply an uncomplicated expression of a celebration of fatherhood. It's a jump prize for men who are not deadbeat dads. They have reduced Father's Day to that. Now, I'm not particularly sentimental about Father's Day, but when I see something outrageous like this, I can't help but call attention to it. And I say this not as a men's rights advocate. I'm not advocating men's rights. I'm not speaking as a man. I'm just
You don't
calling,
need to.
I'm calling
You just
bullshit on
speak as a
something.
decent human being in this
Exactly.
case.
Exactly. I'm calling bullshit on something which is an outrage. That's what I'm doing. I'm not a men's rights advocate. I am just a person who wants to put feminism on the ropes, and I point out what feminism does. And here I see feminism at work, and I want to shine a glaring spotlight upon it. Before continuing, see the ad for yourself, and there is an embedded video here, and there's another embedded video. I'm going to breeze through this thing pretty quickly. If you're not in a place where you can hear Sotomayor's comments for yourself, TJ Sotomayor made a video about this, which I haven't watched yet. Here's a grist of it. Angel Soft is basically making a mockery of fatherhood and masculinity by smearing fathers on a holiday devoted to them. There we go. I think Tommy Sotomayor hits the nail on the head with that one. The video is not without its social media support either, and they're not all male detractors. Take this comment from Lisa Troy. When are the men going to stand up to those third-wave feminists? This commercial is the most hurtful commercial to all fathers out there. The real bullies of America are the third-wave, useless feminists pushing their liberal social engineering project to effeminate males. I don't much care for the rhetoric about liberal social engineering and the effeminate males and all that. Um, I think there's a more politically effective choice of words than that to be made here. But I can't argue with the general thrust of her argument. Another quote follows. I think this is a vicious attack on men. Yep, there you go. A vicious attack on men. I think it's really weird and misguided. Hearing them say Happy Father's Day, Mom, gave me a weird feeling, like the statement Happy Father's Day, Mom is an oxymoron. There you go. It doesn't work, and I don't know why they felt like they had to do this.
Who would pull this on Mother's Day? No one would pull this.
On Mother's Day. Yes.
Yeah, happy Mother's Day, Dad.
Well, if they want to do that, if we can say Happy Father's Day, Mom, and someone else wants to come up with Happy
I would like to see the Menonists have a go, have a bash at that.
The Menonists. Oh well, I'm not a Menonist. Okay, I mean,
I'm a total Menonist.
I love those guys. They are hilarious.
It's a group I don't like. They're okay. I don't like labels. Okay.
Of course, they're parodies. So.
Yeah, there was a couple of guys who went to a university. They were doing the Menonist thing, and it was like kind of a joke. About like they were I guess they were pretending to be stereotypes of MRAs. They had the fedoras on and Menonist T-shirts, and it resulted with a feminist freaking out. And did she physically assault one of them or do something like that?
I think she bashed the sign up or something.
Yeah, but it's I haven't seen the whole thing, but apparently it's hilarious. Yeah.
I know they got
a
lot of sympathy from the bystanders. The average crowd member there didn't see any problem with it, but it made the feminists unhappy. Let's see, reading on here, and I don't know why they felt like they had to do this. The stories of these people were very touching, but why didn't they just do this on Mother's Day? Now, this last quote that I just read, that wraps up my own thoughts pretty well. They could have just done this on Mother's Day. There's absolutely no good reason to co-opt Father's Day and make it about mothers. No reason.
Unless you have an agenda.
Unless you have an agenda. It is a feminist move through and through.
Yeah, just one more stroke to ramp up dehumanization of a particular demographic before you can move on to the next stage.
I've kind of got to go now.
Okay, see you, Spinosaurus Skin.
Well, the show's about over anyway, so Spinosaurus Skin, thank you for being on the show. It was great. Come back again sometime. And
yeah, maybe I won't be so tired. I was up at like 6
It's late for you. It's late for you in England.
Yeah, very late.
You're like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, aren't you?
2 o'clock.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, and I had an exam today, so.
We could record a show, pre-record a show at a convenient time. That's one option we have.
Well,
okay.
We can figure that out later. See you later, man.
Okay. You too.
Peace.
See you later. Well, I think we're about to wrap up the show here. I'm going to do this quickly. I wrote a very mean comment on that particular article, and I screen captured what I wrote on the article, lest the comment be deleted at some future point, which is a possibility. So I screen capped it, and then I tweeted the screen cap on Twitter, and that would be found in queue number 4. Go to the link on queue number 4, and you will see my Twitter tweet with a screen capture of the very, very unpleasant comment that I made about that article in rather harsh words. It's there. And do me a favor and retweet that tweet. Okay? We got to get the message out there, little by little, one little battle at a time, to people in the media, that it's just not acceptable to say certain things. Or that if you do say these things, you're going to get flack in the public. Because the times, they are changing. And the zeitgeist is progressing to a new form. And we need to help to educate the people in the media and get them to get them to step up their game. So one little battle at a time. So go to the link to Q number 4, look at that, read the screen capture that I put up there, and then be a pal and retweet that. And while you're there, how about you be my Twitter follower? I love it. Okay, I think it's about time to wrap it up here. This has been episode number 53, the Vanguard Report. It's been a great episode. It's been most absorbing, most stimulating. I hope everybody out there enjoyed it as much as I have. So,
Yeah. I would like to announce I should have done this at the beginning of the program. I'm happy to announce that my video, Let's Identify Some Asshats, has been seen over 100,000 times. You can watch that video on my YouTube channel, Men's Rights Edmonton. And, of course, if you are in or around Edmonton or you know somebody who's into these issues, you can contact me through my email at mensrightsedmonton@gmail.com or drop us a line through the Contact Us section of mensrightsedmonton.com. Have a good night, everybody.
okay. Nick, are you still there?
Yep.
Well, I'm still here. We're going to wrap it up here. We have an email address at the Vanguard Report. Anybody wants to send us love mail, hate mail, or lukewarm mail, anything at all, it's vanguardreport@usa.com. And that is Q number 5. It's there on your list. And once again, do check out Spinosaurus Skin's YouTube channel. That is Q number 6. Alrighty, folks. You know what we always say, feminism is what we say it is. It's not what they say it is. It's what we say it is. They've had their feminist privilege long enough. It's about time we non-feminists got a piece of the action. So, feminism is what we say it is. And that's that. Everybody, see you next week for episode 54 of the Vanguard Report. Have a great week. Be excellent to each other. Bye-bye.